So today we're going to be talking about the NUTP13. It's actually one of our newest addition to our tape light. When first launched, we didn't think this was going to take off the way it did, but it's growing and growing and used for more applications. So we actually decided to add. So originally, this has been out for about almost a year. And you were only able to do straight runs. Now we've been able to customize the lengths, the runs a little bit more. And that's why we kind of wanted to do a presentation and a training for the new changes. All right, so here are the product highlights here. Input voltage 120. The NUTP13 has gotten as popular as it is because of the driverless feature, where you don't have to hide a big bulky driver anymore. The lumens in the wattage package is perfect. 330 lumens, 3.6 watts per foot. It's nice and even. The good thing is if you need any less, it could be dimmed as well. It's dimmable with a triac dimmer. We do have a compatibility list online. We only offer it in 3 different CCTs, and that's going to be 2700, 3000K, 4000K. No 35 yet. Let's see, 90 CRI standard, so it meets the minimum CRI requirements, as well as the operating temperature below negative for outdoor use.
Nora went at 2 o'clock. That's where everybody jumped. That's where
this is ETL listed for a wet location application, so you're good to. It's wet location as well as IP65, meaning not only could it get wet, but you can actually have this product sprayed directly, and it will still function properly. It's pretty well protected. The LED lens at the very face of it, it's very transparent. You can't really see it, but it's actually UV resistant, so it doesn't yellow out like most of the tape light that you use outdoors. The tubing is very flexible, PVC. It does have some limitations, but for the most part, it should get the job done. One thing I do want to point out for the wet location is the product itself is not submersible. That question has come up a few times. The product is just, it just hasn't been approved for that yet. Okay, so we've covered all the product highlights. I'm going to go ahead and go over to so these connectors here, and I'll actually go over them too once we're done with this page. I have the connectors in front of me. I'll go ahead and zoom in so we can actually take a look at that and the differences. We do have 4 different options. We have hardwire and we have cord and plug. And between those 2 options, you have surge protector or without. So in bold, I want to cover this first. The product itself has to be factory installed. It cannot be installed in the field. It's very important to call that out when you're ordering it, and we'll go over that in a few slides. But the product itself must be installed in the factory. The reason for that is the connectors, the cord and plug itself has to be glued, and that's where the IP65 rating, the airtight rate, the wet location rating, that's where that comes. If it wasn't glued, it wouldn't be wet location rated. We offer each option in an 8-foot cord, so whether it's a plug or a hardwire, it comes standard with 8 feet. If you're doing hardwire, you can actually cut to length. We have not yet brought in anything longer than 8 feet. If you need 8 feet, it's something that still has to be done in the field by adding wire with a wet location box and extending it that way. Let's see here. Let's see, is everyone able to see the screen with the product?
Yes.
Awesome. So here we have just raw tape. We have the raw tape here. This it's just one for display purposes. But so this is the portion that has to get glued on directly to the tape itself, and it does come with a cord and plug. Comes with the surge protector. You don't need the surge protector. You can get it without, or you can just get it straight hardwired. We really just added the feature for the IP65 rating on the surge suppressor. The original hardwire and the original cord and plug is something we've always offered. Let's see. All right, I think we've covered this page. Okay, so this is actually the newest addition to the tape. What I was referring to at the beginning of the presentation. So before, you were only able to do one straight run with the tape up to 100 feet. Now what we've done is we've added some We've added some extension cords, we've added some left connectors, and we've added a right connector. Again, same as the original product, works well, works great. However, it must be factory installed. This isn't something that can get purchased and swapped out in the field or added in the field. First, let's start off with the 90-degree connector. The connector itself is really cool. It's really small. Really, it can do a pretty good tight turn. One thing to notice is the connector itself is actually transparent. And the reason it's transparent is due to the when you plug in directly to the LED, the last LED, we still want it to show, so that way it eliminates all of the dark spots. Because you will notice that if you're fooling exposed, if the tape is exposed, or if you're lighting up a cove, you will see a dark spot. So that's one of the great features of this connector. If you can't do a 90-degree and you have an awkward connection point where you have to do like a 45 or anything less or greater, we definitely recommend this 6-inch extension cable. It really helps. I know it's a little bit long. If you want to shorten it up, you can definitely make a lot of different configurations to do a 45, or you just got to worry about tucking that wire in. So that's another good addition to the actual to the tape line itself. So all of this again has to be factory installed. The connection points are all IP65 rated wet location. The jumper cables and the corner connectors can support lengths up to 150 feet or 8 section, whichever comes first. We'll go over the 8 sections later on in the slide. But so the 150 feet is actually tape itself. It's actually so if you get this long cord and you have an 8-foot hardwire, that does not include your that doesn't include your run. We're talking about 150 feet of actual tape. So that's a good thing to point out. Let's see here. Factory installed, not sold separately. Yeah. We'll go ahead and move on to the next slide. Okay, channels. So these are the accessories. There's mounting clips, there's external surge protectors, and we have 2 different styles of channels. The first one I want to talk about is the mounting clips. When you place an order, you actually get the mounting clips included. And I believe it's, don't quote me on that, should have been on there, but it's a few clips per foot. We already include that. If you need additional, you're more than welcome to order some separately. The next option was originally when we didn't add the surge suppressor, that is, or surge protector, that is IP65 rated. We had a surge protector. If you order a hard wire or a cord and plug and you need to add that after, like in a box, that I would definitely recommend ordering that external surge protector. So that's like a good save. Next, we only have 2 channels that are compatible with the NUTP13. Although they look the same, the first one at the top is the NATL CIP25. That's a deep channel with wing. What makes that one special than the one right below it is that it has a flange in case you want to recess that channel. And of course, the NATL-CIP26 is just a standard channel you can surface mount. You can still surface mount the CIP25 that's on top. It's just going to look funny because it has the extra flanges on the side. One thing I do want to point out that's in bold at the top, currently the channel itself is only approved for straight runs right now. I kind of already see some questions coming, so I have the next slide here. The reason why we support only on the straight runs is because we haven't found the perfect channel that can come or can be done at a 45. If you look at the left photo, this is what we show. This is what, if you just get the channel without any cuts, that's exactly what it's going to look like. Your 90 degrees are not covered. It's not something that we could find off the shelf or something that we can engineer that quick to come up with. The only current solution, and the photo on the right is actually from a contractor that did not know that and was able to cut a 45-degree miter cut to compensate for that. Again, we don't recommend it. We only recommend for straight run. Technically, there is a solution out there, but there isn't a factory solution yet. But I did want to show that it can be done. The only reason we say cut at your own risk is, although that's a pretty clean cut, on the next photo, you'll see here, if you look at that corner, they cut the channel itself with the acrylic lens on top. And that acrylic lens is not perfect. And luckily it was hidden in a cove, so they didn't mind, but that's just something to keep in mind. And for now, that's why we have to keep it off limits. All right, let's see here. Applications. So all NUTP13 layouts have to go through tech support. So that would be me, by the way. And Kevin and James, if you're not familiar with them, great guys. We have to look at every layout and approve every layout before it actually gets done. We do, the reason being is it's a custom order. It has to be made from scratch, and it has to be the perfect fit. So we have to go ahead and approve every single layout that comes through Nora Lighting. So if you, these 3 applications are up there because these are the only 3 applications we see on a daily basis. Very popular amongst, the bar settings, on the overhang. It's very popular in a cove, and of course the eaves of a house. Very, very popular. Actually, the bar in the later presentation, we'll go over the, we'll actually go over a bar overhang application. That's what it is. All right. Okay, so this is the sheet that is on the spec sheet itself. So if in the first 2 pages of the spec sheet, you'll have the product information, the exact same information that we went over in the previous slides. But at the very bottom of that, you'll have your own NUTP13 layout tool. So it should come in, I believe, 2 pages. And it should cover section 1, section 2, all the way up to 8 that we'll see in the next coming slides. Most importantly, the first thing I would always take care is writing the information in the top left-hand corner that gives you all the information. As far as the customer, the tape CCT, the notes. I always leave that total tape length for the end until we're completely finished with the links. Same thing with the model number, that doesn't come up, and the number of connectors until after you're done. I would advise looking at that first, working on the layout second, and then taking care of the model numbers third. All right, let's see, what do we have here? So I believe we're going to go over a actual sample layout. Okay, so assuming this is a drawing, this is a type of drawing that we normally get, a top view, type C, bar, customer. So this is what we see pretty often, and it's always a top view. And the reason I say that is because we should always lay out the tape. We should always lay out the tape as if we're the same as track, the same as linear, the same as everything, as if the LEDs were facing downward. That's just a proper orientation that we went with. That's how we assemble it. That's how everyone looks at it when they're looking at drawings. So that's how we're kind of dedicating this product. So here we have a bar, and this is the side view here. It has 12 inches of overhang, and the most common application is they want to mount this middle to the back side of that bar. So when they're working on something like that, and you have these overall dimensions, it's a little easier to look at. So the more information we can get on this product, the better. So if we were starting out, going back to the last slide, so we're going to go ahead. We're going to go ahead and fill this out ourselves, or I'm going to go ahead and fill it out. So first thing we'd start off, let's give this project a name. Okay, we have Fred's Cantina, and he wants 3,000K under that bar. Let's see. Notes, it's very important under the notes section, on the last drawing, how it said type C, bar, customer side. It just really helps, especially for the ordering process, because when you send that in to orders, it gets forwarded over to us at tech. We have to review. Once we approve it, it goes over to a different department. They have to set up the bill of material, and it helps everything stay organized. So that actually really helps. And as well as when it comes to installation, the contractor is going to thank you, because he's going to know exactly what he's getting, because of this layout sheet, so that it'll also help him out, sort it out in the field, especially if they have multiple runs. Okay. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and check cord and plug. It'd be a little easier if you guys could see the layout too. Okay, so we have our sample layout. Again, this is a type C. We put that information in the notes. Our first run is going to be 16 feet, 7 inches. So under the first section, we're going to go ahead and cover 16 feet, 4 inches. The reason why we're going down to 4 inches is because we're going to be running, you can only cut this in 0, or, basically keep it at a foot 4 inches, or foot 8 inches. You don't want to go over, because it won't fit, and you always want to go a little bit under. Another important thing to look at too when doing this type of application, whether it's a cove or a bar or an eave, here in the drawing, it shows that there's 12 inches. So when you get to this edge, you have 12 inches of overhang. So you have some room to play with. If you were to go, let's say if this dimension was 16.8 and you go 16.8, you won't have any room to put a connector because you've gone too far. So it's good to go a little bit under. And again, the overhang helps with actually, you know, covering the proper footage for that. Right. So we're going to go a little bit under. So instead of going all the way to the end, it should put us a little bit shy of the end, trying to stay as close as possible to the middle, of course. Okay, so it's a very important. So this isn't a perfect 90 and it was done on purpose. So we can't use a 90-degree connector because it's going to throw the entire layout off. It is a flexible, but it's just better to avoid using a 90-degree connector here because of that funny angle. Most of the time they won't give us that information as well. But what I went with here is the 6-inch flexible cable that would work perfect in this application. Next, we're going to use 17 feet, 0 inches. And that's going to be our second section. Which should cover with the 17-foot, 2-inch run that we have max. You're a little bit, again, staying a little bit under and still staying within under that overhang. Next, we have what appears here like a right. And although to some people it may look like a left, remember when we have to look at this a certain way as if the LEDs were pointing down, meaning it would actually be facing right if you were coming down like the way I like to see it, I read this like if I'm coming down a one-way street here, technically it's a right, but we use a flexible connector here. By the time we get to the third section, you're going to be making another right. And that's how you determine your actual connector. That's the easiest shortcut. Let's see here. So we got 17.0, which we're under by 2 inches, so that fits perfect. Okay, so again, we went with our right. We want our right connector at 12 feet, 8 inches. See, does that check out? Yep. If you go any further, you'd be at 13 feet. So you're right under. Again, you're still staying within that little overhang section. And of course, here we're going to make another right. We're going to make another right into a 4-foot, 3-inch section. Okay, we have a right connector there for the fourth section, 4 feet, 0 inches. Okay, now going into the fifth section, let's go ahead and take a look there. And this one appears like it's going to be a left, 3 feet, 11 inches. Left, we need a left connector, 3 feet, 8 inches. And this is exactly what it should look like. So again, if we look closely at the arrows, the way that the direction that we're starting, the start is very important because that's where normally your electrical connection is going to be. If it's done facing upwards, you would have like a mirrored effect. Really quick, I'm going to switch back over to this slide. That's what you would get if you did it with LEDs facing upwards. So that's why it's really important to know the orientation. of the actual layout. If not, you have your electrical connection here, and you flip it over. That's where your electrical connection would be on the opposite end, so that wouldn't work. Unfortunately, that would trigger a new layout and unfortunately a non-returnable product. Yeah, so we have the connector here for the weird angle. Then we have a right turn, then another right, then we have a left. Although the direction we're looking at is the left, but we got to follow it with the arrows. Okay, so going back to the layout, we just finished our layout. And although we just gone to the second page, there is still some information that we have to fill out on the first page. So we know the now that we know our feet, our foot, like now that we know that information, we can actually go through and add all of that up. So once you add up that entire layout, you would add 16 feet by 17 feet. You would add that up. Same with all this information here. At 12 feet, 4 feet, and 3 feet. So we got 15, we got 19 feet on the second page. And then we have 17 and 16. That should actually equal 52, if I'm not mistaken. But we're not done yet because we also have to add up the inches. We would have to add up the inches here, and that's for everything. So we have 8 inches, and 0 inches. We don't have to add that up. So 16 inches so far. 16 plus 4, 20. So we have to add 1 foot and 8 inches, meaning that puts us at a total of 53. That puts us at a total of 53 8 inches. Puts us at a total of 53 8 inches. We add that here. Now that we know this information, we could actually go ahead and build our model number. So we have 53 NUTPW 53-8, and that's for the inches. Next, we'd fill out the CCT. Since we've already added that in the beginning, we slide that over to 3000 K. And then we switch over to CP because they wanted a cord and plug. Instead of a hard wire, they have an outlet there and they just want to be able to control it through that outlet. So they went with CP. So once this is all completed, you also have to add up your connectors. For instance, one 6-inch cord. I believe there were 2 rights and 1 left. And you add that up from both pages as well. Okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and skip forward. Right, we covered that layout. And again, I do want to want to retouch this. It's very important. It's very important to always keep in mind, LEDs facing downward, and it should help you choosing the right connectors to avoid this kind of situation. Actually, I did have a customer not too long ago do everything properly. Everything was good. Everything looked great. And everything was looking good. And when it comes to installing in the cove, let's see, are you guys able to see the screen here with the different product? Awesome. So again, really quick. Normally we face this down, LEDs facing downward. The LEDs facing downward, that's how we're normal, that's how we're used to laying things out, right? Now he did it in a way where he was facing it down. He did everything as in a very correct manner. However, it was a cove. He did bars, he did the eaves. When it came to a cove, he did the exact same thing that he did for the rest of them that worked very well. However, now when he has to face it up, all his electrical connections were on this corner, on this end. But now in order to face it up, you have the problem of having to run additional wiring to cover up, because now you have a connection on this end. So that's just one thing I wanted to point it out. This is too small to be a cove, but just an example of, to help out with the orientation. All right, so I believe that concludes. I believe that concludes everything. So we can actually stop the recording for the training, and we can actually move forward to